Welcome to DMC Studio number 1. My name is Paul Dakeyne. Steve Anderson will be along very shortly. Thank you. First of all, let me show you around the studio very quickly. First of all, this is the Soundtrack 6800 mixing desk, which has 56 line inputs for our synths, samplers, record decks, effects, etc. This is basically where we sit down and do all the work. Over here we have the 2-inch machine which handles the multi-track tape. If we can just move the camera over to the synthesizer rack. The actual synthesizers that are in the DMC Studio depends on the producer who's in at that particular time. Let me just turn this down a bit. At the moment we have a Prophet 5 synth and a Korg M1, the Korg being a digital synth and the Prophet being an analog one. Further up on top we have MIDI synchronization equipment and various old little synth boxes, etc. Over here above the desk we have very conveniently placed various effects, digital delays, reverbs, etc. The odd synth in a box, as we call them. This is the Proteus. MIDI patch bass, DAT players, toys in general for us to play with. Over here is the most important thing for me in a studio. The actual central brain is a computer, which is actually a Commodore, and my 2 S1000 Akai samplers. Basically without these I might as well be a dustman, but never mind. This is where all the programming is done, all the MIDI information is stored in the computer, sequenced, and actually locked via the tape recorder and the MIDI synchronizer, the SMPTE synchronizer, so everything runs in time. That's basically a quick look around the studio. Today's job, the phone's ringing. Today's job is actually to remix Strawberry Fields Forever, which is playing in the background, by Candy Flip, which by the time you watch this will probably be at least number 5, I would have thought, and good luck to the guys for that. The record company in their ultimate wisdom sent us not a multi-track to work with, but they sent us a 1/4 inch with the vocals on. No music, no drums, nothing at all. So all we've got to work with is the actual vocal. Now the first thing we wanted to do was to actually speed the track up. As all DJs watching will know, the track is about 89-90 BPM in tempo. Now that sometimes is a bit difficult to work for a DJ, so I wanted to take the tempo up to about 100, 102. So what we're going to have to do, first of all, is to sample the vocal off the actual 1/4 inch and use a method on the Akai machine, which is called time stretch, which is basically something which will speed up or slow down a sample without changing the pitch. It's a very complicated digital process, but I won't bore you with that. So we've got a very long, quite a long few hours ahead of us now to actually sample the vocals off the 1/4 inch and arrange them to the new tempo of 102. So while we do that, our cameraman will switch off. I'll show you Steve, because he's managed to stay off the camera so far. So this is Steve in all his ugliness. There we go.
This is. I just must explain that we've both been sort of mixing expose at SARM for the past 2 days. And
solid.
Solid. Past 2 days solid, and we both look totally crap. So there's, you know, so no apologies for the appearance at all. We just both look crap. I'll get you back to Paul because he's more professional at this sort of thing, being a northerner.
Yes, thank you. Right. Okay. So we've spent about 6 hours actually sampling the vocal, the entire vocal arrangement, the verse and the chorus, and time stretching it and putting it to the new tempo. We've arranged that and made our own multi-track. What we're going to, well, we've actually sort of already done some drum programming. What I'll do is I'll just play some of the actual drum sounds as a loop and on their own so you can hear what we've done. So we're now running at 102 BPM and the percussion sounds something like this. As you can hear, we've got a bass drum which is actually quite highly compressed. We've got a snare, sort of a clap, hi-hats, congas, tambourine, which is just straight 16ths. And we do actually have a crash cymbal. There it is. Thank you, right on time. When you hear it as a loop, it sounds a bit like this. So that's moving quite well, quite happy with all of that. It's a very basic arrangement, but the congas That's a conga pattern, gives it a good bit of movement. So that's the basic sort of drum programming that we've done already. Thank you. The next thing to do is actually map out the song. We've already arranged the song on multi-track. We've put the vocal down with a click track so we know where we are. And what we need to do now is to arrange the music, which is over to Steve. Yes. Do you want to tell them anything about the actual keyboards that we're planning?
Okay then, the actual keyboards we're planning. At the moment, when we start a remix, we don't tend to actually know what we're going to do until we get onto the...
We never know what we're
going to do until we get onto sort of the middle of the remix. I've had a listen to the keyboards off of this. The original song is obviously well mapped out, being a Lennon McCartney classic. So we are sticking very much to the original chords, which are very, very good.
A few techno voices, haven't we?
Yeah, we've actually decided... A couple of things we've decided to do. We've decided to keep the piano, basically on the arrangement, and then put some various techno synths over the top of it just to make it sound great. A couple of weird ideas that we've had. We've actually created a middle eight for the song, which it never had before, something which I've decided to do. And between us, we came up with the crazy idea of, at the end of the song, going into the chord structure of Hey Jude, which is something that has been attempted by Primal Scream, and that sold very well. This is very, very different to that indeed. Put all this lot together, and you'll get roughly, what we're going to play in a minute. I'll break down the keyboards for you just now.
What's going to happen is Steve's going to play a few chords. I'm going to record them on the sequencer, and I'll correct any mistakes that he may or may not make.
Which he doesn't.
He does. He really does. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we just recorded a few chords onto the computer, so I'll have a look in the edit page of the computer. We'll actually have to ask the very kind cameraman to make a bit of a close-up here. So we'll go back to the first bar that Steve played, which was here, and we'll have a look. So there's the first chord. As you can see, the keyboard here, this represents the actual notes that Steve has played and the length of them. You'll be able to see the actual chord go by. Quite an easy one. I mean, that was just basically one chord. Let's try and look at something a bit more complex. As you can see, the general workings of a sequencer are that if a musician makes a mistake, we can correct it by doing something like this. We could, for example, take out one note and put another one in like this. Move the computer back. This is probably a very terrible chord. But it does. It's a jazz chord.
It's a jazz chord.
It actually illustrates the fact that you can use the basic structure of what a keyboard player has played and adapt it, improve it, tidy it up, or just generally scrap it. Okay, so that's sequencing and how we do that. We'll actually talk you through the various overdubs that we do and play them probably one by one, but that's how we record a sequence. Well, we've been actually very busy. We've got most of the overdubs down in the time that the camera's been switched off. What I'm going to do now is ask Steve to play the tape, and we'll just solo a few things on the desk and show you some of the overdubs. Okay. As you can hear, this is a very sort of like authentic Lennon Strawberry Fields sound, which is off the M1. That's one of the overdubs we've done. What we've done here is take a voice on the Prophet synthesizer, and Steve's played some chords, and what we've done is put them through a gate effect, which is triggered off a hi-hat in the sequencer. It's to give it that sort of like ba-ba-ba-ba, that type of effect. It's a very stuttery type of thing, as you can hear. I've got a bit of delay on that in the mix to give it a bit of body. Also, the actual bass, which will be coming along
very shortly.
Very shortly. Is a composite bass, which is what I mean when I say composite. It's a combination of 3 bass sounds. We have 2 analog bass sounds. One is from a Moog, MIDI Moog. One is from, let's turn it down a bit. One is from a Roland synthesizer, and the other one is a pick bass from the M1. So we have 1 digital bass sound and 2 analog. Together they've been mixed and EQ'd to make this.
And it's just finished.
And it's just
That was
finished.
a brilliant bit of timing there by Paul Dakeyne. Thank you very much.
Back to the strawberry sound again.
Piano is already underlaid in there.
We have a bit of a sort of an ethnic voice here, playing some very sympathetic, harmonious notes.
Lovely jubbly.
There are a lot of overdubs here. What should we do next?
Just the string pads.
The string pads, which are here. Okay, this is once again back to the Prophet synthesizer. Using some, we decided to go for a very weird, almost Jean-Michel Jarre type of electronic pad, as opposed to a normal sort of soul funk dance pad, which is what we just heard there. That is basically it for overdubs. We have a Leslie sort of Hammond organ sound as well, which we can play you later. What I really would like now, we had a little idea earlier on, which is probably going to shock a few people, but I hope you like it, is towards the end of the song we wanted to go into, change from Strawberry Fields into Hey Jude, which is one of our favourite Beatles records. So Steve constructed the chords for Hey Jude towards the end, and we found a very nice, almost Jimi Hendrix guitar sound on a synthesizer. So we're going to ask Steve now to play that, and you can watch him do that. Okay?
Not just starting just yet. I'll start in the middle. I'll tell you that. The keyboard player trying to be a guitarist there. I'm supposed to do it.
That was rock and roll, and this is rock and roll again. What we're going to do now is do a few tom fills. We've got some samples of some very, very large toms, courtesy of Phil Collins. That's why they call them tom fills, you see. Joke of the week, never mind.
The joke of the week.
Also, we've got a very sort of like affected big hit, which has got lots of phasing and big hit.
All right.
And it's a very good sound effect to work with these toms. If you can just take a look at Steve, and we'll play the toms for you now.
Just like to say that there has been very little swearing within this video. This is something that doesn't normally happen in the studio. I hope you'll appreciate it.
That's absolute bollocks.
This is absolute bollocks. These are the tom fills, P-H-I-L.
And
Q in the air tonight.
And the sound. That is the hit. Okay.
That is the hit.
Together, if we go over to the sequencer and we play a sequence with those effects in, we can hear them. As you can hear, that has the desired effect. and we like it.
We like it. Yeah.
Do you? Right, the next thing we want to show you is a little a few vocal tricks. We've taken a few samples off the multi-track, and I'll put those up on the keyboard for Steve now, then we'll sequence them. So let's look at this. Over on the computer we have to go to the correct sequence, which is this one here. And if I give Steve the right MIDI channel, we should have some samples.
Let me take you down, it doesn't matter much to me. No one I think is in my dream.
Okay, so there's a few samples spread across the keyboard with a few effects on, etc. We sequenced them into one's a quite simple pattern, which I think should be this one.
Let me take you down, let me take you down. Doesn't matter much.
And that will actually lead into the vocal on the track.
Yes, indeed. The vocal indeed.
The next sequence pattern is a little bit more complex. We didn't want to go too mad with sample effects because the track doesn't really befit that type of sample pattern. So we'll try this one. As you could hear with the last sample there, the vocal was saying no one's living in my tree, and if we go over here again, what it was, the sort of like warbling effect at the end of that was modulation played by the keyboard. So Steve?
No one I think is in my dream.
Nice little trick that. Okay, we've done all the overdubs, we've done all the drums, we've done all the fills, we've done all the music, the solos.
We haven't made the coffee yet, we want the coffee now.
Yes, we'd like some coffee, please. We're very tired, we've been at it for 2 days, but enough of that.
Rephrase that.
We've been working for 2 days.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are basically ready to mix the track. We've done everything, all the production is actually done. So what we have to do now is to what we call flatten the desk, which means... This is Steve's favourite bit actually. We're going to actually pull all the faders down and basically bring up the mix bit by bit, work on a few effects, reverbs, delays, etc. Because the mix that we have at the moment is what we'd call a production mix. It's the result of 2 days work and the levels are not perfect, so it's time for you to...
It's time for this. This is a very interesting thing, this is. It's something which we can do. You can actually do it with one arm actually, just by doing this. It's great. You can just... The feeling is just amazing. Okay. So there you go.
And on that happy point, we'll leave you.
We'll leave you. He's going to go and make the coffee.
Yes.
You bloody better go and make the coffee.
And we're going to do the mix.
Have a coffee.
We'll show you a bit of editing before we
have a coffee.
Have a coffee, and then we'll play the track. See you in a minute.
Bye.
Set up. If we have a look at the desk, all the faders are now back up. We spent about 3.5 hours in setting up the actual mix. If you pan over here to the patch bay, you can see this lot looks like Spaghetti Junction. This is all the wiring, extra reverbs, effects, and all the samplers and everything, and that's basically what the patch bay looks like. So all we've got to do now is to put the output of the desk onto 1/2-inch tape, do a bit of editing, bit of splicing here and there. Thank you.
It's like Blue Peter really, it's just visual sort of. Shut up.
Basically we're finished.
Knackered.
We will, yes, we're pretty tired. We will pass you over to the La Palais DJs, who will no doubt play the finished product. We have a bit of a surprise.
Bloody loud.
Yes, we have a bit of a surprise
Please.
at the beginning. It's a little message to everybody out there. And then of course we go into the mix. This will be on DMC's April edition, plug. So all DMC members out there, you'll be getting this mix for your April issue. And if you're not a member, why not? You should be. It's not very
It's good plug that is. It's good effort.
I'd just like to say thank you to Technics as well.
And of course
Okay.
these wonderful t-shirts are available in all colours and sizes.
We're finished.
We said we are finished.
We've had enough. Thank
Did you enjoy
for
it?
watching.
Did you? I hope you enjoyed
Goodbye.
that. See you later.
Holy, that's played out. Hit it.
low. That is, you know you can't tune in, but it's alright. That is, I think it's not too bad. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to strawberry fields. Nothing is real, nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. No one I think is in my dream. Always know, sometimes think it's me. But you know I know, and it's a dream. I think I know, I think, ah yes, but it's all wrong. That is, I think I disagree. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to strawberry fields. Nothing is real, nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to